Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Clarity in Action. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and today we are busting down what it means to be in balance. And is balance what we really need? This is one of my things, too, that I love to talk about because I think that there are so many misnomers about this idea of chasing balance. And to help me with this is my friend, Rebecca Fitzsimmons. So, Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Clara. I am delighted to be here.
I am too. We're going to be going really deep in this. And so I hope people are going to be able to be in a spot where they can take some notes. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, the thoughts on balance and how maybe balance is not what we should be striving for.
Absolutely. And it's, as it were, one of my areas of specialty. And my business is called Tactical Harmony. And I named it that way very intentionally and from the heart. And we must be very tactical in the way that we approach harmony in our lives. And I think that so many people out there, amazing high performers, professionals, leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, everyone in between, we use the term work-life balance. And I am of the belief, very strong belief, that words mean something. They carry energy, they carry frequency. And so when you say work-life balance, you're integrating that and you're wiring that into your brain. And so your body and your brain and the subconscious mind in particular, which has no sense of humor. So if you say something, it believes it. You are training your body and your mind to say, hey, work and life must be balanced 50-50. And right. I affectionately call BS to that.
Exactly.
Like it is not one, it's not practical. It's not feasible. And have you ever had something in complete balance? Like picture yourself, go back to childhood. You're on the seesaw or teeter totter or whatever you call it. It is incredibly hard to strike that balance, if you will. You go up, you go down. There are days, weeks, months, seasons of my life that I'm giving way more to my work, my career, and my business. And then there are times that I'm giving a lot more to my home life and my personal life and things that I wouldn't label as work. And so when you give yourself the permission, and I'm giving you permission to give yourself permission to really examine and take inventory of your life and your work, all parts of you holistically, you will see that there's not a balance, but there is a time that you nurture each and every single part of you and a facet of your life. And that is divine and beautiful.
I love that. So I would love to hear a little bit of your story. What brought you on the path of uncovering that it's not really about balance, it's more about this thing called harmony?
Yeah, it's, and I'll give a super high level overview and happy to unpack any of it. I have a very crazy career and life trajectory. I am from the Midwest, from Ohio, in a very small town. And my forensic science degree led me on this journey to become a special agent. And I did a short tour with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, where I was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base out in Las Vegas. And then the majority of my special agent career from there, so another 13 and a half years, was with the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, also known as NCIS. Yes, there's a TV show. So yeah, we are a real agency and we are real people. And yes, we have a TV show. And yes, I've consulted for that TV show. It is awesome. But it was through those years of all the many disciplines I was able to work, from felony level criminal investigations to our national security missions, coupled with being stationed in so many areas, to include overseas. So I lived in Italy for many years, and I had the opportunity to visit 26 countries, and I was able to see all parts of the world: Far East, the Middle East. I'm drinking out of my Bahrain cup right now. Just all over Europe, Singapore. I mean, you name it, I've been there. And I saw all the same themes. It doesn't matter the culture, didn't matter what you did for a living. I started to see these themes. Fast forward, I decided to serve in a different way. So I entered the private sector and working at a tech company. Guess what? I saw the same themes. I saw the same things. Didn't matter the industry, didn't matter anything. And then I started my own business, my own podcast, my leadership coaching, my keynote speaking, and I'm seeing the same themes. And it led me to really kind of harness tactical harmony and spread this with the world, that it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you do for a living, holistic leadership and mindset truly answer any challenge, no matter how great that you will face. If you have these tools and strategies and tactics, you will be able to conquer anything that life throws your way.
I love it. So let's get into the tactics. How does one create harmony? It's easier said than done, but a lot of the people following this show are entrepreneurs, and we know the road to entrepreneurship is not a straight line. Leaders, they have different things thrown at them, and many of them are managing and juggling the families on top of it. So, give us some ways, Miss Tactical Harmony Special Agent here. Tell us how we can actually make this happen.
Yeah, there's a million and one ways that I could answer that for sure, given that it's very personalized. But I'll introduce my framework, which is part of tactical, and that's plan, align, execute, and receive. And overall, this requires a level of introspection. It does require some reflection. You got to sit your butt down and you got to take inventory of your life and your business, what matters to you, your values. Are you living in accordance with those values? If not, why do you feel not aligned? There's a lot of things, but you got to plan. So again, you got to sit your butt down. You got to figure out, okay, what's going on? What's happening? And then there's an element. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is where a lot of people struggle, because to do this, you have to be extremely honest. And I really encourage people, I don't know what it is. Sometimes we sit down and we're still afraid to put these thoughts on paper, as if somebody's watching over our shoulder. And I would love to have you just speak to the idea of, this is not a time of judgment. It's just a time of assessment.
No, yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for calling that out, because there's so many parts to this, and I'm speaking super high level. So I really want to double tap and reinforce that there is a lot to this framework. So when I'm speaking very generally. To Clara's point, honesty with yourself. It is you versus you in life. It's not you versus your neighbor, your ex-husband, your coworker, your ex-boss, whatever. It is you versus you. So if you're not honest with yourself and you're not raw with how you're thinking, how you're feeling, what do you want in life? What brings you joy? What are you doing for a living? How are you serving? If you are not honest with yourself, then you are doing yourself an extreme disservice, and you will likely experience that inner discord. You burn out. You just don't feel fulfilled. You get what they affectionately call the Sunday scaries. You just aren't happy. You get kind of grumpy. And then it kind of becomes a part of your personality and identity, which is a whole other topic. Yeah. So when you do this, don't just say things out loud, write it down. And I'm not just saying this in an old-fashioned way. It does wire this differently in your brain. Get a pen and get a paper and write it down intentionally. And when you do that, you're going to surprise yourself. At least that was my experience and my client's experience. What comes out from that pen? Right. I didn't realize that I was thinking XYZ. I didn't realize that I had this value, and yet nothing in my life, not my habits, not my relationships, not my career, not my community, is in alignment with that. Let me tell you, this is sobering. And I have seen grown men go to their knees and bawl because, whoa, like it's very enlightening. It's very much a reckoning or an awakening, insert whatever word. So that plan phase, as Clara is really calling out, really matters. It is step one of this, at least in my framework, where you're looking and you're going inward and you're pulling things out, and it could surprise you. Maybe it won't if you're a very, high EQ person and you know what you want and you go after it and you've done a lot of, inner work, outer work, or whatever. But if you haven't, that's okay. Give yourself grace, because you're doing it now. The best time to do it was yesterday. The best time to do it is right now. Absolutely. Love it. All right. What's the next step? So align. You have to be able to align. If I want to be, let's just say I want to be on the beach and I want 80, 90 degree weather, where I am here in Montana is not aligning with that. And I'm saying that as a silly example, but It's true. Like if I want to, reach a lot of people and serve, a podcast is a good way to do it, which is why I chose that vehicle. But maybe, sitting in my house and never leaving and never reaching out to anyone, probably not going to achieve my goal. So I mean this on the smallest scale, and I mean this on the biggest scale. There has to be sort of alignment. And with that comes next is execution. You got to be able to move. And I don't just say take action, I say execute, but it's inspired action. And that's part of having a victory mindset. I'm inspired. I've done the work. I know what my values are. I know my mission. I know my vision. I know what I'm going for. I know what it is going to feel like when I get it. And then I take that inspired action. I'm not just doing something for the sake of doing it. And Claren and I talked about this when she was a guest on my podcast. You can be busy as hell, but you ain't moving the needle. So instead, when I make a move, it is inspired. I am doing something with the intent. I bring a level of deliberation that I am going to achieve something, or I'm going to have some progress. Yeah. And guess what? If you don't, that's okay. You pivot, you adjust fire, and you move accordingly. I don't just stay stuck. I mean, how many times did Lainey Wilson apply for American Idol? We all know Lainey Wilson, famous country singer, right? And she was denied like 7 times. And now she's like one of the most famous female country singers there are. I could say the same thing about the Walt Disney story. I think he had like 3 or 4 no's. How many of us?
Oprah was fired. I mean, all of these things. So talk to me a little bit, because I love what you're saying. And you're right. In theory, all of this lines up. There are some people there, though, that this is what bogs them down, because they get stuck in the analysis paralysis. They can't execute because they're so tied up in it's got to be perfect, or what is that first step? So when you're working with someone who has a little bit of that analytical mindset, and if it can't be perfect, they don't want to take a step, how do you get them to move forward?
Amen. I am a recovering perfectionist, as I say. No, I actually am very much kidding, because I'm not recovering anymore. I am no longer a perfectionist, but I see them because I am very analytical. I'm introverted. I'm in my head. I have a degree in science. Like, I'm constantly thinking of everything analytical. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. Evidence is the loudest voice. So to them, I would say a few things. 1, done is better than perfect. And perfect doesn't exist. To quote the great Tony Robbins, perfect is the lowest standard because it doesn't exist. So let me take that rock straight out of your pack. It doesn't exist. Because what you, Clara, might think is perfect, I might look at and say, no way, you got to do this or subtract this or whatever. And then that's my definition. So understand it's very subjective. Now, you should you should strive for greatness, right? Like, I'm not setting my goals here. I'm setting them way up here, right? I want to achieve everything I possibly can so I can serve as many people as I can. So you want to strive for greatness, but sometimes 80% is better than your perceived 100%, right? And it's that messy middle. It's that, you know what, I'm going to get it out there, and then I'm going to pivot. I'm going to take the feedback, which is a gift. You got to set that ego aside. You got to exist from humility. And then I'm going to make tweaks. I'm going to turn some things up. I'm going to turn some things down. And very vulnerably, that was difficult for me when I was putting my business out there, because I had been social media dark. I'm a special agent and I'm not really advertising a lot of things. So to put my last name out there was a victory for me. So your victories are going to look different than mine, but you want to be able to celebrate that and receive, which is the final part of the framework, receive. And you want to be able to receive all of it, receive the construction, receive the feedback, receive the goodness, receive and pat yourself on the back that you put yourself out there, that you made a move, that you took that first step in front of you. And so that would probably be the last thing that I would say to your question, Clara, is every single one of us have a step in front of us. Every single one of us. I don't care where you are and what you are battling or grappling with or working through. You have a step in front of you, and it's on you to take that step. And then after that step, you have another one. And soon results will compound for you. That's how it works.
Yeah. And I love that, when you're talking about the receiving and, celebrating the small wins, because I think so many people think the big end result, the goal, that's the win. And what they really need to do is say all the baby steps up to that are really the win. Taking the action, just asking yourself at the end of the day, did I take action towards that? And if so, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the win. And I think, by working with all of these together, it really does help. And I can't speak enough to the idea of alignment, because I think that when people are in burnout, this is my personal perspective from what I've seen, is when people get burned out, it's not because they're doing too much. It's because they're not doing things that are aligned. And it always reminds me that there's a really big difference between stress and distress. Stress is when you kind of feel that, maybe that anxiety, but you're working towards something, seeing the results. It's the distress when we're not seeing the results, the definition of insanity. We have to remember, even diamonds are made under pressure, under stress. So talk more to us about, what are some signs maybe that we're not living in alignment?
Oh, that's a good question. Signs that you are not living in alignment. Well, I kind of indicated the inner discord, and that can manifest physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, very different for all of us. So I'll utilize myself as an example. So for me, and this is actually a really good thing, so I want to call this out. You can be damn good at your job. You can be really good at whatever you're doing, and you could have really wanted that one day and it fulfilled you until that chapter is trying to close and the universe is giving you these signs. You're not really feeling fulfilled anymore. But at one point you were. Both things can be true. But you find yourself daydreaming. Well, what else could I do? That was my case. What if I, did something other than being a federal agent? And it started years before I finally made the leap when I left NCIS. What would it be like if I did this or that or whatever? And it was just something like this intuitive message that just kind of came through me. It wasn't like I was unhappy, because I was not unhappy, but I reached a point where I did everything that I wanted to do within NCIS. And I wasn't, I was very fulfilled with my mission and being able to help the United States Marine Corps, the United States Navy, and all of the things that we do. So that in and of itself is fulfillment. And I would like to say that I was very, very good at my job. And I was the second highest ranking special agent in my field office when I left. That said, I was not meant to stay there.
Yeah.
I wasn't meant to stay there. I wasn't meant to go into the executive branch within the NCIS, which I would have. That would have been my natural trajectory. I would have gone back from Camp Pendleton to Washington, D.C. and Quantico, where our headquarters is. And all of that would have been fine and dandy, but I didn't want it. Yeah. And so for me, it wasn't like I had any physical ailment or there was a bad event. I was constantly thinking, oh, I know that I need to serve in a different way. And I'm a very spiritual person, and my confidence is with God and with spirit. And I knew that there was something else for me. And so I followed that. And what came on the other side when I took that leap of faith was faith. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know I'd be sitting across from you, Clara, and being on podcasts and having my own. Like, what? I didn't know that. But what I did know was there was this intuitive knowing, and I just kind of followed it. And there was a lot of things that I did, but I kind of followed it. And what I ultimately wanted my life to look like at my values, NCIS fit those for years. I wanted to travel and see the world. I wanted to work across all the disciplines. Check, check, check. And then I got to the point where I did all of that. Okay, now what? And that's on me. So it doesn't have to be some big event that jars you or some profound event, which it very well could. It very well could, right? You could have a loss in the family, which I've had all of those happen to me. Surprising, very unexpected, but it doesn't have to be that in order for you to take that move to realize, whoa, I'm approaching burnout, or I'm in burnout, or I am unhappy or unfulfilled. And it does require you, like I said, to have that moment where you are honest with yourself and you reflect and you have that introspection. So then you can then direct your life accordingly, because you are the creator of your life, nobody else.
And I love how this circles back to what we started off the conversation when you were talking about give yourself permission. You think about a book, as great as the book is, it has a final chapter. There's certain times in your life, like you said, it doesn't matter if you're great at something, you might just reach the end of that chapter, and it's not a failure. It's, again, the revisiting of it. And sometimes, we can be great at something, but then what's the next step? If the challenge isn't there. So being able to look at that, I think that is awesome. And speaking of challenges and next steps and all of those things, what's next for you? What are the things that you're working on right now?
Oh, great question. So for me, I'm really doubling down on my speaking career. And it's something that I've always enjoyed my whole professional life and wish I could share all the briefs I did at the Pentagon. Classified, can't pull that speaker reel out. And so I kind of like came across that and I was like, well, crap. All right, well, I'll do my speaker reel and I'll get myself out. And it's a very different ball game when you're not in the Fed.
Mhm.
And so for me, I truly enjoy speaking and the energy exchange. Like right now, you and I are in this beautiful moment. And to do that on stage and feel the energy and the excitement of whatever my audience is something I'm very passionate about. So I have some speaking gigs lined up. I got selected for another one this week and I'm really excited. So I'm really focused on my keynotes and all of the messages I can get out within that vehicle in addition to my podcast. So that's what I'm really focused on right now in this season.
I love it. Well, so excited. And I know that there is even more success out there because you just have a message that is definitely worth hearing. And I'm sure you're going to be weaving all these beautiful stories of the tactical side of NCIS and all that fun stuff into it. So it's going to be a real attention grabber. One final question to ask you in our time today, and that is sitting where you sit now, learning everything you've learned up to this point in time. How do you define success for yourself today?
How do I define success for myself today? Inner peace.
Mm.
I'm at peace with myself. When I wake up and I look at the person staring back at me in the mirror, I'm happy, I'm proud. I'm at peace. I am at peace. And no matter what comes in my day, good things, quote unquote, bad things, or maybe curveballs, I am at peace and I am doing what God put me here to do on this earth and my soul's journey. And I have so much love and grace and gratitude for that.
That's so beautiful. And really, that's what we want for everybody is just to be able to feel good and to have that peace. So, Rebecca, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I look forward to following you and all the success that's in front of you.
Thank you so much, Clara. And thank you for everything that you do. It's so important in this world.